This tutorial will show you how to create a landing page similar to this in Bubble that integrates with Mailchimp. So essentially you can drive your visitors to this page, entice them with some information here, and hopefully get their attention enough that will want them to submit their information. Once they've submitted their information here, their email address will be added to your Mailchimp subscriber list, and they'll get a little thank you message. So just to demonstrate that functionality, I'm going to act as a visitor who has been enticed. I'll supply my email address, and I'll write a message. Hey, this is a message. And I'll hit submit. So once I submitted that, they should get a thank you message, and my email has now been added to the connected Mailchimp accounts list. Okay, so to follow along, you'll need two things. You'll need a Bubble account with a new app, and you'll also need a Mailchimp account to connect your subscriber list. Okay, so with a brand new app in Bubble, you can create a new page. Once you've created that new page, double click into the white space. What I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect this, make this element fixed width. I'll set the dimensions to the following. And the reason why I deselected this is because I want my content to fit the entire width of the current screen that's looking at my content. Okay, on the left hand side you can find group under containers. I'll place that into my page, and I'm going to rename this to group content. The reason why I'm doing this is because this will act as the container to all my page elements. Okay, and for this I'll set the dimensions to roughly the same dimensions as the page. It's 1200. I'll do about 9 here, drag that as far up as I can, and I'll add 2 more groups. Okay, here's one. I'll name this group left side. I'll set the dimensions to half the page width and about, say, 900 high as well. And I'm going to drag that as far left as I can. I'm going to right click, I'll copy, I'll paste, I'll right click again and paste, and I'll drag the new element all the way to the right, and I'll rename this to group right side. Okay, and if you're not familiar with Bubble, all the elements that you add to your page will show up here under this elements tree. If you notice, group content is the first one that I added, and those 2 subsequent groups that I added are now children to that group content. Okay, they're here. You see the group right side and the group left side. So let's go ahead and let's configure our group left side. I added a shape on my page for the image that you saw earlier, and I set the background style to image. I selected which image I wanted to choose, the sample photo. And then I place the sample text. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to grab the sample text that I had here on this page. I'm going to paste that over here, and that's pretty much it as far as the information that is displayed here. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to click on this. I'm going to hold the control key, click on the text, and I'll group them into a group. Okay. Now over on the right side, what we're going to do is add a group. This will be the form, okay? And we're going to rename this to group form. This group here will hold all the form content. And if you recall from earlier, initially this had all the inputs visible, and when I clicked submit, then I got my thank you message. Okay, so to do that, we use what's called custom state in Bubble. Okay, now I have the group form selected. I hit this icon here. I open the element inspector, and I go ahead and I click on add new new custom state. I'm going to name this new state as view state, and I'm going to set the state type to number. I'll give it a default value of 0. A custom state in Bubble stores temporary data within the element that you've set it to. It doesn't save it. It just holds the data temporarily, okay? And what that custom state is going to allow us to do is, based on this default value, show the inputs that we originally saw here, okay? Now let's go ahead and let's add all the form information. This will be text. It'll say full name. I'll add a little asterisk. And for the actual input that we want to capture, you'll search for the input under input forms, drag that into the group form, and stack it right underneath the full name text. Okay, rename that input to input full name. And with this still selected, I'll hold the control key and click on the full name text. And in this pop-up, I should get this other group, these elements into a group option. I'll click it, and now they live within this group F container. Okay, I'll rename this to group full name. And I'm going to right click it, copy and paste. And that'll allow me to just configure my next set of inputs. Okay, this is going to say email with an asterisk, and the input will rename to input email. Now, to make something required, you select the input and find this option here that says this input should not be empty. Okay, and I'll do the same for email. And what you want to do for this email is, under content format, you want to switch that up to email. That'll actually validate the input as an email address rather than just some free form. Okay, I'm going to copy this once more. I'm going to paste, and my new set of inputs will be for the message. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and delete just this input, not the group. I'll expand the group here. And for input, we want to give our visitors the ability to add multiple lines of text. So we use this multi-line input under input forms. Okay, once we drag that into our group here, I'm going to make it as wide as the extra space that I have. Okay, and I'll rename this to multi-line input message. All right, now let's go ahead and we'll add a button. We'll make it as wide as our inputs just to keep the consistency of the form. We'll label it submit for now. Okay, and with all of this now added to our group form, I'm going to select the submit button. I'm going to hold the control key, select this group, and select this group. And I will group all of them into another parent group. And I'll rename it to group inputs. So now we get to that function, the management of the functionality where I see the inputs or I see the thank you message. Okay, so for group inputs, I'm going to go to the conditional tab. I'll click define a new condition, and we want to say when the group forms view state, the one that we just set up a couple moments ago, when that view state is 0, this element here will be visible, and we'll check that. Okay, we're going to right click, copy, right click, paste, and we're going to say the opposite. We're going to say when the view state is not 0, this element is not visible. All right, and again, if you recall, this group form has that custom state we just set up whose default value is 0, and that's what we're saying will control the visibility of all these inputs here. Okay, and under the appearance, we're going to look for this option that says this element is visible on page load, and deselect it. We're doing that because the conditions here will control the visibility. Okay, so go ahead and right click the group inputs, copy it, look for it here in your elements tree, deselect it so that we can hide it, and paste it once more. I'm going to right click, I'm going to center horizontally, I'm going to right click, I'm going to center vertically, and I'm going to rename it from group inputs to group thank you. Okay, and for the conditions, we don't want it to show up at the same time that our inputs do, so we're going to change the 0 to a 1 and keep everything else the same. And we're going to delete these groups, delete the button, delete this input, and I'll expand this text, and rather than full name, I'm going to write a thank you message. I'm going to say, thank you for your interest. We will be in touch. Okay. And I'll add an icon here just to say, hey, it's been successfully submitted. I'm not going to worry too much about the styling at the moment. And so when our visitor has actually clicked the submit button, that's when we set up the workflow to control the visibility of or the custom state of the group form. Okay, so go ahead and click on the submit button, click this start edit workflow button, and for this next section, what you want to do is set up your Mailchimp account so that we can integrate our account with this app. Okay, under plugins, I already have mine installed, but go ahead and click on add plugins here. You'll search for Mailchimp in the search bar, and once you find the Mailchimp that's created by Bubble, you want to install that one. Okay, and once you install it in your Mailchimp account, you should go under your profile and then your extras tab, and you'll find the API keys that are necessary to link this app with your account. Okay, and you'll place those keys here. Back under the workflow, the very first thing that we want to do is we want to hover over this email option and click the first one that says send email. This is separate from Mailchimp. This is just the email that will get sent to you internally from your Bubble app. The 2 will be whatever address that you want this email to go to. I'm going to place mine for now. And again, this email will tell us like, hey, there's a new interest. All right, so you want to make sure that you send that to the proper address. The sender name is going to be the value of the full name input. Okay, and I got that from here. If you recall, the input we labeled as input full name. Okay, so on this action, the sender name is going to be the input full name's value. I want it to be the value that the visitor placed. Okay, the CC and BCC you can add if you want. The subject, I'm going to write new interest, and for the body, I'm going to write new interest in product. You can do whatever you want here, and by clicking this insert dynamic data option, you get those inputs accessible to you right away. Okay, so for here, I'm going to there we go. So for here, I'm going to write name, insert dynamic data, input full name's value. I'm going to hit enter for a new line, say email, colon, oh, I forgot the colon here. So email will be input email's value, okay? And then enter for a new line, and I'll say message, colon, multi-line input messages value. All right. And you can make the body of the email look however you want to look. I'm just going to leave it as is for now. And the next action that we want to do is we want to add the email that they provided to our list in Mailchimp. Okay, so hover over email and find this option that says add email to a Mailchimp list. And if you connected your Mailchimp plugin and your Mailchimp account to the plugin, you should get all the lists that are in your account under this section here. And the email address we're adding to that list will be the input emails value. Okay, and that'll get us in the new subscriber. The next action will be to set the state of our form to display the actual thank you message. Okay, so we want to select, I'll show you again. We want to hover over element actions and then set state. We want to set the group forms view state to the value of 1. Okay, because that's how we're basing the visibility of the thank you message. All right. And then the last thing that we want to do is just reset our inputs for the form, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so to make this a little more visible right out the gate, I'm just going to click on the group form, and I will set the shadow style to outset. I'll leave this as is for now, and let's go ahead and we'll preview that. Okay, and there it is. Okay, so now here's your landing page with all the content on the left that should entice your visitor to fill their information out here. By default, I cannot send this because I haven't filled out the required inputs. Okay, and to show you the functionality, to test out, I'm going to say, hey, this is a message. We'll hit submit, and there it is. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I'm not gonna get into the styling in this video. What we did was we created a landing page that enticed our visitors to submit their information, and that form that we created integrates with Mailchimp. So now we have a new subscriber. Okay. If you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up or a subscribe. I'm going to be creating more content like this, and in the next video I'll show you how to get the styling the way that our original image looked, our original page looked in the gradient fashion. Okay, thank you.